Next thing we will look at is the equation of a straight line. The equation of a straight line right here. Right, so what is the equation of a line? So a brief intro to the concept of equation is every line has something that identifies it. Like every human being has a name that when you mention, no matter where you are, it is just you, right? So if you mention Dandelion Kwame Benton to somebody even outside Ghana, outside anywhere, wherever you are, it's still Dandelion Kwame Benton, and then that will be traced to me. So the same way, equations have names, right? They have it's not. It's better to use identifiers. So they have this equation that identifies them. So that is the equation. That is the equation of a straight line. So the equation of a line is satisfied by the coordinates of all points on the line. What this statement means is that mostly the equation of a line is generally in this form. So y is equal to mx plus c. So if I have the equation of a line and then all the points on that line, right? So if this is my line, if this is the line and this is its equation, then every point on this line every single point on this line should satisfy this equation. By satisfying an equation, every point has x and then y. That means if I put in the x value of that point and then calculate this, the right hand side, then I'm supposed to end up with the left hand side. Same way, if I put the y in here, substitute the y in here, and then make x the subject, I'm going to end up getting its corresponding x value. So that is the way we find this equation of a straight line, and that is how we use it. So let's read these and then try and make sense out of them. The general standard equation of a line is of the form ax plus by plus c, right? The general standard equation. So every equation is like this, right? So the equation of every line is like this generally, where a, b, and c are constants. The slope of the equation, so all you need to do is just write them down or make reference to them as and when they deem necessary. They seem necessary as and when they are necessary. The slope equation is of the form this, right? This is the slope equation where m is the gradient of the line and then c is the intercept of the y-axis. So this equation we wrote here is called the slope equation. M here, as we learned earlier, represents the gradient. And then C here represents the y-intercept. Right. And we know what y-intercept means. Y-intercept means the point where the graph intercepts the y-axis. And always at this point x is equal to 0. So when x is equal to 0 here, then y is equal to c. That is y-intercept. Let's see the last one. The intercept equation is of the form this. So there's another equation called the intercept equation. It's given by x over a plus y over b is equal to 1, where a and b are intercept on the x and y axis respectively. So if I have the intercept on the x axis and the intercept on the y axis, then I can get my equation with this. That is the equation of this form cut to the x axis at a0 and the y-axis at 0. Alright. So these are the three equations that we have to keep in mind. So the first one is necessary, very necessary. And the second one is also very necessary. And this is also, I don't know, I've never really used this equation, but let's keep it. So let's start with I. Find the equation, the gradient of a line when the equation is given. So that's the first thing we'll learn how to do. So if I'm given a line, right, the equation of a line, and then I'm asked what its gradient is, I should be able to identify its gradient, right? But how do I do that? To find the gradient, express the given equation in this form and take the coefficient of x as the gradient. So this is a slope equation, right? So the slope equation is y is equal to mx plus c. So if I can express any equation in this form, then the coefficient of x there becomes my gradient. So let's see example 1. Find the gradient of the line of equation 2x plus 4y is equal to 3. Find the equation. Find the gradient of this line. I have to make sure I represent this equation in this form. That means I should have y on the extreme left. I should have my equal to. I should have a variable m, and x, and then plus c, which is a constant. So let's see. 4y here remains here because the y is on the side. Is equal to, let me take this negative, this 2x to that side, because in this equation the x here is on the other side, right, of the equal to. So if I take it, I have minus 2x then plus 3. Can you see that I've expressed it in the same form as that? Because this is y, this is my y, this is 4, this is m, this is my m, this is my x, this is my c, this 3. Except that there is still a 4 here. So I have to get rid of the 4 so that this equation really looks like this. So getting rid of the 4 means dividing through by y, by 4, sorry. I divide through by 4. So I'm going to get y is equal to negative half x plus 3 over 4. This is a perfect clone of y is equal to mx plus c. Because let's compare. This is y, this is y, this is y, this is y. This is equal to, this is equal to, this is m, this is m minus half. This is x, this is x, this is plus, this is plus, this is c, this is c. That means that in this equation, the gradient of this line is minus half, and the constant is 3 over 4. The y-intercept is 3 over 4. And then that is the same answer here. So we are right. Let's try another example. Find the equation of the line this. If the equation of the line is this, find the gradient. So we've been given another equation here. The equation is 2x minus 8y plus 3 is equal to 0. So what is wrong with you? Alright, so we just solve the next example, which is example 2. We put the equation here, our standard equation, our slope equation. We tried expressing it in this form. So we sent 8y to the other end so that it would be positive, and then we kept the other ones here. And then we flipped the whole equation. So we sent everything to the other opposite end. Then we have this. At this point, we divided 3 by 8 to get rid of 8. So we divide 3 by 8, and then we get this. And so m, when we look at this and then this, you can look at this and then look at this, then m is equal to 1 over 4. So m is 1 over 4. And then this is for the next equation, the next question. In the next question, we've been asked to find the angle between the line and the positive x-axis. Then that is the gradient, right? So m is equal to tan theta. Theta here is the angle we are talking about. So if I could find the gradient, and then I can use this equation, and so I can find the gradient, the angle will be equal to tan inverse of the gradient, right? So tan inverse of the gradient, and then tan inverse of the gradient will be found using this same approach, because we've been given the equation. We express this in the form y is equal to mx plus c, like it is done here. Find the gradient like the date here, then you put it into this equation, then find our angle, right? So simple. So the other examples you should try. State the gradient where the angles are given, right? Sometimes, yeah, so in these examples too, you asked to find that, you can pause it and then try the angles. You've been given the equation, find the gradient, use tan inverse of the gradient, then get the answers. State the gradient and find the angles the straight lines whose equation are given make with the positive x-axis. So in these examples, we've been given the equation, we're supposed to find the gradient, and then we can do that. And then find the angle. Once you find the gradient, you can find the angle with tan theta. So those are very simple. Those are very simple. Right, so to II, in II, we'll find the intercept on the x-axis. So when we draw the Cartesian plane, let me choose so this is my Cartesian plane, right? This is my y-axis, this is my x-axis. If I draw a line this way, what is the x-intercept? X-intercept just as its name implies, is where the line intercepts the x-axis. This is my x-axis. So this is the point where my x intercepts my my line intercepts my x-axis. So this exact point is my x-intercept. The point here is my x-intercept, right? So to find the x-intercept, right, of a straight line on the x-axis, put y is equal to 0 in the equation and solve for x. So you should know that this point here will always have its y being equal to 0. Why? Because it is on the x, all the x, right? The x-axis itself, the x-axis itself is on y is equal to 0 because it's in the middle here. This is the point where we have positive y values and negative y values. So this point here is always 0. It's the origin. That means that P will always have its y being equal to 0. So to find this x value that will make it complete, we just equate the equation of a straight line equals mx plus c. We put y to 0 because we know that y will be 0 by all means. So I put y to 0, and then when I put y to 0, I will make an x the subject. So when I make x the subject, then that becomes my x-intercept, right? So you don't need to memorize these formulas. All you have to do is to make y equal to 0. So for x-intercept, let y is equal to 0. So let y be equal to 0 for x-intercept. Same applies to y-intercept. So for y-intercept, we have something like this. Let's use the same line. If I extend this line, then it will intersect the y-axis at this point. At this point, which will be our y-intercept. At this point, which will be our y-intercept, we agree that x will be 0, because on this point we have negative x values here. Let's say we have -1, -2, -3, and then we have positive ones here, 1, 2, 3. This point, which is in the middle, is 0, is the origin. So it means that at the y-intercept, let's make that maybe C. At C, our x will be 0 and then our y will be a value. How do we find this y? So the same thing. At y-intercept, let x be 0, because x will definitely be 0. Then you make x the sum and y the subject, then you get your answer. So let's try an example. So the two things we keep in mind are to find x-intercept, let y be 0, and to find y-intercept, let x be 0. Those are the two most important things we need to keep in mind, and those will help us find. So let's see. To find x-intercept, oh shit. Wow, perfect. Then these two. So we need to memorize these two. Now let's solve. Let's solve an example. In example 6, find the gradient of the line, of the straight line with the equation this, and find the intercepts. Find the gradient of the line with the equation this, and find the intercept on the x and y axis. So we know how to find the gradient already. So this is the line. To find the gradient, you have to make it look like y is equal to mx plus c, right? So let's make it look like y is equal to mx plus c. I send 7x to the other end, right? That will be 7x, -7x minus 2, right? I divide through by 4, so y is equal to -7 over 4x minus half. That is the equation of the line. So the gradient m is equal to -7 over 4. And then I think we got that from here. Let's see if our answer is correct. The gradient is -7 over 4. Yes, we are right with the gradient. Now that we found the gradient, let's find the y-intercept, right? Because it says find the intercept on the x-axis, that is the x-intercept, and then the y-axis, that is the y-intercept. So x-intercept, and then the x-intercept, what happens? We make y to 0, right? So let's y be 0 in that equation. In this equation of the line, let y be 0. That means we're going to get 7x plus 4 into bracket 0 plus 2 is equal to 0. Then we'll find x. So x is equal to -2 over 7. That is x. So the intercept, so the x-intercept, I don't know, so x-intercept becomes, right, -2 over 7 and then 0, because at x-intercept y is equal to 0. So this is it. This is the point for the x-intercept. Let's see whether we are right. It's here. We are right. Now let's see y-intercept. For y-intercept, x is equal to 0, right? We intentionally put x to 0 because always when you are finding y-intercept, x will be 0. So we already have the x coordinates. Now let's find the y. So we'll put x to be 0 and then we'll make y the subject. So we have 7 into bracket 0 from the equation of the line, right from here. So we have 7x and then x is now 0 plus 4y plus 2 is equal to 0. Let's make y the subject. 7 times 0 is 0. So 4y plus 2 is equal to 0. So y is equal to minus half. If I put this in there, we have y intercept. Y-intercept becomes 0 minus half, and that is the point for the y-intercept. So this is how we solve x-intercept and y-intercept. The examples here, you should go through them, and then the answers are here so you could verify.